Welcome to Speaking from Experience. My name is Rohan, and this is the weekly podcast where I talk about my experiences working in the digital marketing space over the last 10 years, and more importantly, over the last 1 year working at Google. I will talk about the ups and downs throughout my career, about love, relationships, family, money, and a whole lot more. So I really hope you enjoy the episodes you're going to hear. I have poured my heart and soul into them. If you do like the content, please share and subscribe to the podcast. My parents bought me my first computer when I was just 13, and that kicked off my lifelong pursuit of technology and my love for technology. As a nerdy teenager, I spent most of my free time taking apart computers instead of actually chasing girls, which, now that I think about it, I should have done, but I don't regret it because I thoroughly enjoyed taking apart computers. This love for technology eventually ended up in my best friend and I opening a web designing company at the age of 14. And we named it Dream Skulls with a Z.
Baby, you smart. You very smart.
That's correct. I'm so embarrassed to even tell you guys that, but that is where it all started. That's where I actually realized how much I wanted to work in tech. And that's where I decided that one day I would work for one of the big 4 tech firms. In today's episode, we will talk about my journey to Google and why it took me 6 long years and what you can learn from it. So here goes. My first tip is to stay persistent and focus towards your end goal. It took me 6 years, 20 rounds of interviews and several bouts of self-doubt to get into Google. One thing that kept me going through all of that was the childhood dream to work at one of the big 4 tech firms. Every time I got rejected by Google, I was so sad that all I could think about is stuffing my face with 24 chicken nuggets from McDonald's. And that's pretty much how I buried my anger and my sorrow. After every failed round of interview, I became even more determined to get the job. Getting rejected the first 2 times was very hard, and I took it very personally. But I also took that as an opportunity to better myself. I often used to go back and think why I won the job so much. So what I did was that I took a whiteboard, drew 2 columns, and wrote down pros and cons for the job. And that definitely helped me focus my attention on the things that I really want out of it. And that helped me prepare for the interviews in a better way. I had more drive, I had more motivation. And at the end of it, that's what helped me land the job in my 4th round of interview. Tip 2, if you didn't know already, is preparation. Preparation is so undervalued in today's world. And like many people, I often thought that interviews was my strong suit. And to be really honest, I didn't prepare at all for my first 2 tries for a job at Google. And now that I think about it, if I prepared hard enough, I would have probably landed the job in the first place. So definitely prepare until you are happy and confident about yourself. I still remember I used to carry a small notebook or post-its everywhere I went. Whenever an idea or a potential question came to my mind, I used to write it down quickly on the post-it or the notebook, just so that I could go back home and prepare for an apt answer. With any major interview in life, it's important to get your family members and people who you live with or who are a vital part of your life on board with your decision. And this definitely helps, if not adds, to your preparation process because they understand how much you want it as well. I asked my wife to do mock interviews. It was quite hilarious. But yeah, use them to do mock interviews so that they can give you feedback as a third party and help you improve your responses. I also spent hours looking through the internet for potential questions that people have posted on forums like Glassdoor, and this really helped me because going into the interview for a big four tech firm, you always expect random out of the box questions like how many gallons of paint will it take to fill an aircraft. The truth is far from that. Those questions are no longer asked in interviews, and that's a myth. And what definitely helped me was going on to these forums and looking at the questions people were asked during their interview process. What's good is that Glassdoor and other websites also categorize the position that these people had gone for. So if you can find your position, you've hit a gold mine. Tip 3. Stalk your interviewers and do your research. Okay, before I get into any trouble, I am not promoting that anyone stalk people. But what I meant was that just look them up on LinkedIn and look at where they have worked, what their working style is, and maybe even get to know who they work with. You might even find someone in your network who's connected to them, who you can ask for tips on what kind of person they are. To my advantage, I was already working in online marketing for a few years before I had started interviewing for Google. So I had plenty of people who either worked at Google or knew my interviewers from some other company. So what I did was that I literally just reached out to those people, asked them about my interviewers' interviewing style and their past experience. Maybe I could find something to talk to them about and connect to them personally. My last and final advice for all of you out there is to relax and de-stress before your big day. It doesn't matter what your big day is, whether it be a job interview, you getting married, or even just a major life event. It is so important to just de-stress, because when you're in the moment and giving your big presentation or at your job interview, if your nerves get the better of you, you will not succeed. So I followed my advice and I took a quick 2-day break before my final rounds of interview with Google so that I was recharged and ready to take on the world. And this definitely helped. I cracked the interview after 4 tries and I couldn't be happier with my outcomes. So follow my advice and learn from my mistakes and keep trying to achieve your goal and don't give up. Alright, experience seekers, that was it for today's episode. If you liked the content for today, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And more importantly, spread the word, because the more number of people who listen to the podcast, the more motivated I am to smash out this amazing content.